Alright guys, so today I will show you a new Nexus config tutorial. But since config tutorials usually tend to be longer videos, I will use an artificial voice for this video. That allows me to save a lot of time and I don't have to scratch specific video parts to cut down the video duration. So maybe let me know how you like the voice or if I should do some adjustments to it.
Today I will show you my Overwatch 2 configuration for XIM Nexus. The setup shown in this video works equally well for Xbox and PlayStation. I will use the PlayStation configuration for this showcase, but if you are on Xbox, then just follow the same steps, but use the Xbox configuration instead. Since we have a lot to cover, let's not waste any more time, and jump directly into the in-game settings from the XIM website. The required in-game settings for Overwatch can be found by pressing the wrench button in the bottom right corner of your configuration picture. Press the Yes button, and you will be forwarded to the XIM website. Please do not use any other settings, or else the quality of your stick and motion aiming will start to suffer. I recommend the exponential setup, since it provides a much better motion aiming and stick experience. Any options that are not listed here can of course be customized to your personal preference. For instance, I recommend to set the display mode to frame rate if your monitor and console support that. This will allow your game to run on 120 Hz, which makes the video output more fluid and responsive. Also, in the accessibility settings, I recommend to turn off both shake settings. Having less screen shake will increase your game awareness and general overview. At last, let's adjust the aim assist settings. Similar to XIM Apex, for most heroes I prefer to use a window size of 25, with an ease in setting of 75. This combination works really well for tracking targets, which is how you must aim with most heroes in this game. If you are confident in your aim, and you play sniper, or single fire heroes which require a lot of flicking, then I recommend a window size of 15 or 20. And for the ease in setting, go with a value of 50 or 60. These settings allow you to better build up muscle memory for precise motion aiming flicks. Now, let's take care of the configuration for heroes that use Hipfire. I will use two dedicated configurations for this game. One for heroes that only shoot from the hip, and one for those who also have an aim down sights mode. With a hotkey button I will then be able to switch between the two. Start by clicking on the edit button in the top left corner of your XIM manager. My configuration color is set to green. So whenever this configuration is active, my Nexus will then show a green LED light as a confirmation. Next, scroll all the way to the bottom and activate the expert mode. First I will expand the advanced settings under the configuration light. This will give me the option to deactivate the rumble notification. Personally, I don't like my controller to rumble each time I activate motion. After that, I will switch the option for the motion activation to Custom Engage. Next, let's swipe one time to the right to adjust the aiming options. First, let's take care of the motion sensitivity. I prefer a motion sensitivity of 125. Most of my precision aiming is done via motion, while fast turning and swipes are done with the sticks. This allows me to use a slower motion sensitivity that provides a lot of accuracy. Higher motion sensitivities usually result in a significant accuracy reduction, as most humans cannot handle them very well. Instead, I recommend to turn with sticks, but aim with motion. If you do not know what sensitivity works best for you, then I recommend to use an aim trainer, like this one. You can try different motion sensitivities, and pick the one you have the best aim with. You can find the workshop code for this trainer in the video description. The next setting we must customize is the motion smoothing, which is probably the most important setting in this configuration tutorial. Your smoothing value has a big impact on how the aim assist will interact with your motion aiming. Personally, I prefer to use a custom profile with the following values. I came up with them during the prototype stage of Nexus, and since then I haven't really found any settings that I like even more. They work for almost any game, and will provide an excellent interaction with the aim assist. For instance, target switching is extremely easy with them. The same applies to entering, or leaving the aim assist bubble. You can of course use any other smoothing value too, but I would recommend to at least give my values a try, for a few games. Using no smoothing is of course also an option, but you may run into issues with the aim assist, such as the bubble that it creates around each target. At the bottom you can now adjust your stick sensitivity. Since I use my sticks mostly for turning, I will use a higher value here. My configuration tutorial works with all stick sensitivities though, so for these two settings I would recommend you to pick your own preferred values. I will go with 85 and 60. Below the sensitivity options, you can now expand the advanced settings. Here you can change the curve behavior for the sticks. If you played Overwatch with a regular controller in the past, then I recommend to keep the native stick behavior. Your analog sticks will then play and feel exactly like those of other controllers. So with native stick behavior you can keep your established muscle memory. And for anyone else I can only recommend to experiment a bit with stick curves. You can customize your stick behavior by clicking on the curve generator. Unlike with any other controller on the market that has ballistic curves, the curve of XIM Nexus will not be distorted by the aim mechanic of the game. So what you draw in the curve will 100% be what you experience in the game. The curves that I can recommend as a start are the second and third one. The second curve is a normal exponential curve that will lower your slow sensitivity behavior to provide more accuracy for micro-aiming. Exponential curves are usually what game developers implement into their games. So if you play with native stick behavior, then the game will usually run an exponential curve in the background. And the third curve will provide a fairly linear aiming, but at the same time offer incredibly high turn speeds. So when you peg the stick fully to the side, you will have a very high turn speed, but the overall turn speed when not fully pegging the stick will be fairly slow, to maintain great accuracy. I will use the second curve, and lower it a bit. Since I play with a fairly high stick sensitivity, this will lower my sensitivity for smaller aim adjustments, and as a result, boost my accuracy. Next you can swipe 2 times to the right to enter the button bindings. Here you can either copy my button layout that you can see right now, or you go with your own one. Most of these bindings are the default ones, except for the back buttons. Let's scroll up again, and handle the motion activation. First I will delete the right trigger binding, it will otherwise interfere with my smart actions later on. Next I will create a new right trigger position binding, at the bottom of the button bindings. In the Smart Action Manager, I will assign the Motion Engage action to it now. After that, I will move the trigger slider at the top, to 15%. When I now press my right trigger beyond 15%, my Nexus will activate motion. I have not chosen 0%, because this can cause a crosshair shake. The spring inside the trigger has an initial resistance, that you have to overcome when you want to press the trigger. Because of that, you will slightly move the controller when you start to press the trigger, and that will make your crosshair shake a little bit. So by activating motion at a trigger press distance of 15%, you will avoid this issue, since the controller shake is already over. Let's leave this menu, and add another right trigger position binding. This one will handle the shooting. I will pick the right trigger action, and then move the slider at the top to the 90% mark. So when I press my right trigger by 90%, my weapon in the game will start to shoot. The idea behind this setup is that motion will always be active when I want to shoot. This gives me the option to just lightly press the right trigger, which will then only activate motion aiming, or I can fully press the trigger, to shoot as well. In both cases I have full control over my motion aiming, and can decide on when I want to activate it, or not. Next let's handle the profile switch button, that will load the second Overwatch configuration. I will bind it to the upper back button on the right side. First, I will open the binding, and head into the Smart Action Manager. As a first step, I will now delete the square button. At the bottom, I can now expand the advanced settings. When you scroll down, you can find the option for the load configuration number. Select it, and use the slider at the top, to pick the correct configuration slot. My current Overwatch configuration is in slot 1, and the next configuration that I will create, will be in slot 2. So I will pick slot 2. After that, you can close this menu, and press the Save button in the top left corner. Swipe back into the first menu, and click the Copy button. After that, you can close this menu, and create a second Overwatch configuration. For heroes that only shoot from the hip, we are done now. The second configuration will take care of heroes with an aim-down sights feature. This includes Ana, Ashe or Widowmaker. Also, please don't forget that you must change the relative aim sensitivity while scoped, to 100% in the in-game settings. To get this option, you must first pick the respective hero on the right side. Now open the second configuration, and activate the expert mode at the bottom again. Next, open the advanced settings under the hotkey color, and press the paste button. Your second configuration will now be identical to your first one. At the top, I will now switch the color to blue, so I can better differentiate the two configurations. Next, let's make the appropriate adjustments for the aim down sights mode. First, swipe 3 times to the right, to enter the button bindings. Scroll all the way to the bottom, and expand the Game Roles menu. Bind the left trigger to the ADS functionality here. This will allow us to configure the aim down sight settings. So swipe 1 time to the left to adjust these settings now. Tick the box to activate the settings. Once that is done, deactivate the shared aim settings at the very bottom. You can now use independent settings to your hip configuration. My preferred motion sensitivity in the aim down sights mode is 80. I prefer a slightly slower sensitivity when sniping. The same goes for the stick sensitivity. Here I will go with a value of 55 and 39. Just like in the previous configuration, you should use sensitivity values that you feel comfortable with. At last, we must make some adjustments in the button bindings, so swipe 1 more time to the right. First, let's change the configuration switching button. The slot number must now refer to the one in which my first Overwatch configuration sits in. That is slot 1 for me. Now whenever I press this switching button, it will alternate between the first and second Overwatch configuration. So when I am in the first configuration and press the button, my Nexus will switch into the sniper configuration. And when I press it a second time, I will be back in the first one. The second change is about the motion activation. I want motion to be active in the aim down sights mode as well. So what I will do now, is to add a new left trigger position binding at the bottom of my button list. In the Smart Action Manager, I will now bind it to the Engage Motion action. And at the top, I will move the slider to the 90% mark. The result of this is, that I can go into the ADS mode with my left trigger, and when I want to add motion on top, I can fully press my controller trigger. So any left trigger press that goes up to 90% will activate the ADS mode, and any press beyond that, will add motion. As a result, I have now 2 options to activate motion, via the left trigger, or the right one. On the left trigger, I prefer to activate the ADS mode before motion is added on top of it. That gives me the option to just hold sniper angles, without motion interfering with my controller stick aiming, or crosshair placement. Your sniper configuration is now complete. You can press the Save button in the top left corner, and exit this configuration. In the next few minutes, I will show you how to set up a smart action for Soldier. Its purpose is to completely remove his weapon recoil. Overwatch actually offers a lot of things you can handle with smart actions. For example, an automatic 180 degrees turn after a dash with Genji, or a setup for Widowmaker that will directly stop the zooming when you fire a shot. But for this tutorial we will only focus on Soldier. First I will load my first configuration again, because Soldier does not have an aim down sights mechanic. Here I am in the button bindings of my first configuration. I will now add an additional button binding at the bottom of the button list. It will be a right trigger position binding. Open its Smart Action Manager, and add a weight action, and then 2 pairs of aim magnitude, angle, and weight actions. The first weight action must be set to 50. The magnitude right next to it must be changed to 0.04. The angle can stay at 180 degrees, but the weight action must be set to 140. For the second pair, go with a magnitude of 2.7, an angle of 180 degrees, and a weight action that is infinite. Once you are done, your setup should look like this here. Next, deactivate the randomization in the top right corner. At last, change the percentage at the top to match the trigger press distance at which you shoot. We have bound that to 90%, so move the slider to that percentage. Now whenever you press your right trigger beyond 90%, your Nexus will shoot your weapon, and also compensate the recoil for you. Here you can see an example clip for that. When I shoot Roadhog in the practice range, the recoil will be completely zero. However, there is one issue, which is the aim assist slowdown. Whenever you are on a target, your sensitivity will significantly drop. Here you can see the slowdown. I will move my crosshair at a constant speed to the side. As soon as I am on target, the sensitivity is heavily slowed down. This is done by the aim assist to increase your accuracy when on target. However, this aim assist slowdown will also mess with the smart action of our recoil setup. So when you are on target, the recoil will be perfect, because the slowdown is active. But as soon as you are not on target, the recoil compensation will be too much, because there is no more slowdown that will reduce your sensitivity. The only way to solve this is to deactivate the aim assist, but in my opinion that is not really an option. So keep that in mind when you use this smart action. As soon as you are not on target, the recoil compensation will be too strong. Since you will only shoot when you are on target anyway, this should not be too much of an issue though. This Overwatch configuration is now complete. At last I want to say that the original Overwatch configuration offers an amazing aim assist as well. It is potentially even better than the one of the Overwatch 2 configuration. However, it also comes with some drawbacks. The aiming is not as responsive, and you are forced to use the PlayStation profile. The Xbox profile doesn't work very well in Overwatch 2, so Xbox users should instead stick to the PlayStation configuration. Another good alternative for Xbox players is to use the Smart Translation version 1.2 from the first Overwatch profile. That one also works very well, and provides a lot of aim assist. But this is just a side note. For most players I recommend to use the Overwatch 2 configuration. But those who want the maximum aim assist, should use the settings from this video, and pick the Overwatch 1 profile for PlayStation instead.
So guys, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button or maybe even subscribe to this channel to not miss out on any of the upcoming videos. Also, contrary to popular belief, this channel is not an official XIM channel. I run this channel in my free time to bring you guys the latest XIM news and tricks. So if you want to support what I do, then maybe consider to join the YouTube channel membership. Channel members usually get around 1 to 4 weeks of early access to all new videos. Plus, we also have a nice little Discord to discuss XIM settings and other stuff. But that's about it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching and I will maybe see you in the next one.